What's up, everybody? It's Mal with NFT Culture. I'm joined today by the Chibi Labs team. They're back to talk about their new project that's part of the old project and everything in between. And really quick, before I introduce everyone, I want to just say thank you to H Bizzle NFT Sniperbot for running a spaces with a random person named Lauren that is a part of that spaces and gifting her first NFT cult token, and she joined our community and became a power force between everything that we were trying to accomplish. And now is a community manager. She's running all of the NFT culture spaces, and it epitomizes everything that I love about the NFT community. Is we can find different projects, different people, different diverse backgrounds, and we can all come together and find projects that we wouldn't normally like and work together to build the space. So thank you so much.
You're certainly welcome. And, I would say that more props to Lauren. When I gave her, we were on a spaces following the impact theory spaces with Tom Bilyeu. So I opened up a post room and she came on and she said, what do I do? How do I get involved? I think it was her first NFT. So maybe I was in a generous mood, or I'm usually pretty generous. I got a big heart. And I said, hey, I'm going to send you something. I think it's worth money. I know it's worth money. I had 7. I bought 7 of your tokens. I said, I'm going to send it to you, but you have to use it. I don't even know how to use it, but make sure you get the full capabilities out of it. So I think she took that and ran with it and became your community manager. So, hats off to her. It's cool that I gave her one, but it's even cooler that she did something with it. So cheers to that, man.
Absolutely. And so today we're here to talk about Chibi Labs. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with teams that aren't doxxed and people that have watched the show regularly, Top Dog Beach Club. Like I love and I mostly only support teams that are doxxed. In fact, NFT Culture has a new policy that we will only bring people on stream if at least 3/4 or more of the team is doxxed, because it provides accountability. And we can't bring people on that are just blind in the dark. And if you don't know and you can't see and you don't trust and you don't have the conviction to come out and do it, agnostic of what that may or may not mean, I don't want to say that you shouldn't be doxxed, but I'm really excited about these types of projects because it means that if you are doxxed, you have to deliver and you have customers. So thank you guys for coming back. So who wants to start with the background on where we've been with Chibi Labs, where we've been with Chibi Apes, and where we're going with Chibi Galaxy?
Yeah, just a good segue from what you were saying about being doxxed. I think one of the things our community really appreciates about us is accountability and transparency. And I think from the very beginning, we've all been kind of at the forefront of saying, hey, we're here to support our community. We believe in the long-term viability of this project. And we think even if the NFT market turns, we think we're building something that, could have real life utility and application kind of beyond what the NFT space is offering right now. And I think, our backgrounds really lend to that too. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started several companies. I've sold, multiple companies as well. H Bizzle as well. He's, a successful entrepreneur. And, one of the things that's really important to us is, when we raise money through our mints, I kind of look at this as almost like being a fiduciary. Like we have investors as our collectors, and it's almost like, you're at almost the mercy of those, the collectors, and you're accountable to them on a daily basis. And that's what it feels like. I mean, when we're in our Discord, my DMs are always open to my community, and we're constantly, conversing with our community. People are coming to us with positive, with negatives. And it's like running a traditional business. I mean, it's a little different, but it's almost like, your mint is your IPO and your collectors are now your investors. The only difference is your shareholders basically could, hit you up 24/7 asking you questions like, why is the floor price down, or stuff that you don't want to answer. But like, those are the hard questions, and that's the accountability that I think that you need to have as a founder of a project these days, because I think these projects are now businesses, and they're multifaceted, and they're very dynamic. And to just say that, hey, we're launching something, it's cash grab, and then we're going to drop a new species on you in 2 months, and it's going to be some additional value that's getting added to your wallet. That's not what we're here for. Like, I even tell people when they're asking me about the floor price, I'm like, look, as much as I care about the floor price to me represents, paper hands who are essentially looking for liquidity to get out of a project. Those are the people that we want in the project long term. So
Those are not the people we want, you're saying.
Well, I couldn't agree more.
not
To just double down on that is, we launched the NFT Cult token as a community token, which you know we launched at a great time. But when you think about the expectations that your customers have, and essentially if you're buying, people don't realize this. A lot of people are launching tokens, and it's like, oh, everyone's going to buy this token and it's going to go up in value. Well, like, market conditions are out of our control. If ETH is above 3,500 or below 2,500, people don't want to buy NFTs, and people need liquidity, and there's a million different things that are happening simultaneously. There's 25 new projects a day. There's a lot of speculation that's going on, and this goes back to part of the reason why docs teams are so important to me. It's there's so much more value that we can offer on top of the price of the NFT at the time. And if people understood a lot of these roadmaps, they'd feel a lot better about it. And all floors got wrecked for a long time over the last month or so because ETH was on a tear. That doesn't stop the innovation. We can't just say, hey, today we're going to create this and it's going to be out there. It takes time to hire devs. It takes time to find the right devs. It takes time to find the right artists. And you want to make sure that you have these customers. You want to deliver the most value to the customers. And so there's this really tug of war between expectation of value, immediacy of value, and the roadmap and time it takes to create that value. And real quick, and then I'll shut up, is, we've talked about this a few times. It's that people buy tokens now immediately expecting an airdrop. And before the punks dropped Meebits, no one thought about airdrops whatsoever. And then the apes did it with the kennel dogs. And now you want to say, okay, if I buy this NFT, what are the 6, 7, 8, 12 additional things that are going to happen? And that's not how you create value. The way you really, that Meebit's awesome. The real way you create value is to say, okay, how do we do things with this? How do we create metaverse? How do we go forward with that? And one of the things that H. Bizzle and y'all have all talked about is y'all have been early investors in the metaverse and associating a lot of that with the Chibi Apes and Chibi Galaxy. So can you guys talk about that for a little bit?
Can I real quick? I just also want to also mention that in the NFT space, since we haven't communally been around long enough to be able to perceive this on a macro scale, Ethereum literally went from 2,600 to 4,400 in the span of a few months. So does that automatically mean that every single asset, every single NFT project was now intrinsically worth more, was $1,500 worth more? No. So that's something else that people have to take into account, is that there's going to be a counterbalancing that has to happen in terms of the value of these projects. If a project is worth $1,000 in ETH when it's at a certain price, and then ETH goes up in value, well, then the floor of that project has to go down accordingly to match that. So when you see the value or the value of the floor, the value number of the floor go down on your favorite project, it's not because necessarily it's becoming devalued. It's because the whole market is counterbalancing, and it's meeting that equilibrium that it needs for the value of a project to meet the price of Ethereum. So that's just one thing that I wanted to drop into that conversation, because I feel like it's relevant for us as the people in the space to constantly keep awareness of.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, is that there's certain NFTs that don't move. So there's multiple variables. We don't need to go into this, but very, very briefly is there are a lot of NFT, and Nifty Gateway is awesome, and a lot of people hate Nifty Gateway, but Nifty Gateway is doing everything. They learned their lesson. They messed up. They know they messed up, and they're doing everything they can to fix it. But Nifty Gateway is doing a great job at onboarding fiat buyers into NFTs. When you think about how NFTs work in the ecosystem as it is today, some NFTs move with fiat. So as the value of Ethereum goes up, the value of the NFT may slightly fall because it has a fiat associated price. Sometimes it goes in other directions. And in those circumstances, there's a lot of opportunity for arbitrage. This is a Chibi Galaxy thing, but I've talked a lot about at one period, the price for Blau Slime Sunday on OpenSea was 0.1, and the price for Blau Slime Sunday was $600. So I was literally buying NFTs nonstop on Nifty Gateway from Blau Slime Sunday faces and transferring them and immediately selling them because demand was high for that project. And so I think like when we think about the floor price, everyone will say ETH is ETH is ETH is ETH, but until ETH matures and has enough time, there is going to be some of that influx where this could be the first NFT that people have. So don't mean to take us too far down that tangent, because I think there's the core principles that I have around projects, and this is why I like the Chibi project is like, is it a good team? Is the art good? And the art's good, and the things that y'all are doing with the T poses and making it metaverse compliant, like I want y'all to talk about that. And then like, does it tell a story? Like all these things add up with this project, and so I'm pretty confident that and y'all aren't going anywhere. Y'all are sticking with this, trying to add and provide additional utility.
Yeah.
Speaking of-
So what I wanted to do is, I think since the last time we were on here, we were just getting ready for our last drop, which was the Chibi Apes drop, and I just want to touch on some of the things that we've accomplished between then and now, and then I'm going to kick it over to Fabs, and he could talk a little bit about our latest launch and the artwork and some of the work that has gone into that, which is just stellar work. But you know, some of the things that I think we're doing that are different than the rest of the industry right now is, you know, Fabs was very forward thinking when he was modeling his 3D characters. First off, when you look at 3D characters as PFPs versus 2D PFPs, I think you see kind of the level of detail and the level of thought that goes into them is, and I'm not going to put 2D projects down, but there's definitely a higher level of thought that goes into them and a higher level of detail that it takes to really execute on them. So, you know, kudos to Fabs. He's done an amazing job. But being forward thinking, you know, building every single one of our characters, even for Chibi Apes in our first Chibi Genesis collection, all of our characters are rigged, which means that, you know, they're built in such a way that they could be, you know, used in different applications, in different, whether it's metaverse, AR, different places. And this is something that's completely game changing. Fabs has also created a 3D viewer as you're looking on the screen that basically shows you the full detail of your character, which is not something that's typical even for 3D projects that are out today. There's also something on our website that we offer, which is an AR integration tool, which is, it just blows my mind every time I use it. But, you know, I'll be at places like, you know, we were at the Knicks game the other night, H. Bizzle and I, and we basically took our Chibi and we put it on the Madison Square Garden floor, because you could take your phone and turn it into an AR tool and place your Chibi wherever you are. And like, these things are so game changing. It's like our community knows about them, but the world doesn't know about them. We sold out our Chibi Apes mint in a matter of seconds. I think it was 20 seconds to be exact, and it was a huge accomplishment for us. But what it allowed us to do is really start doing some of the things that we thought were important, that were going to give this project long-term viability. We went and reinvested most of that money into Decentraland and made a big splash in the metaverse. And that was something that was really important to us. We could tell the story. H. Bizzle approached us with this crazy idea to buy this massive plot with 16 parcels. I told him he's crazy. This is a daily conversation that we have where he calls me with some crazy idea. I tell him he's crazy. Fabs got behind the idea, and Fabs is like, this is brilliant. They both came to me. I was like, all right, I trust you guys. And we made this big splash. And this was probably 6 weeks ago, or maybe even longer, maybe 8 weeks ago at this point. And everyone knows what's happened in the metaverses since, you know, Mark Zuckerberg has come out and validated that space. But what that did for us is that gave us a place to really provide our community for a home base. It provides our community with an opportunity to congregate, to have, you know, a place to hang out, to have parties. And we launched our first party last week, and it was insane. I mean, even some of the people who were really in, like, you know, in the Decentraland scene, in the metaverse scene, came to us and were like, we haven't seen this many people come out for a party in a long time, if at all. I mean, that Decentraland hosted a festival, which is big, and it was just amazing seeing all of our community. We also dropped wearables on our entire community. If you own a Chibi, you got a wearable. So everyone's flying around with these pink wings, these pink fluorescent wings. We have a cave that's only accessible to Chibis. So if you own a Chibi, you get access to the cave. We had like 150 people in the cave, and like, we're all hanging out. People are like, you know, making it rain with dollars, and yeah, exactly. And it's just been amazing for us. Like, and I'm not like tooting our own horn, but the amount that we've accomplished since our last drop in 2 months, to me, is value that we're giving back to our community. And this is just the beginning. So from my perspective, this is just a sign of things to come and the type of value that we're going to bring to our community. We thought it was really important to really expand the size of our community. So we dropped 3,000 Chibi apes in September. We reached 50% unique ownership within 7 hours of our drop, which is like, to me, I thought that was one of our biggest accomplishments. You know, so we had 1,600 active collectors in our community, and we decided we were going to launch another collection because we want to continue growing our community, and we want to ensure that people have the ability to get into our community with a lower barrier of entry. So unless we have any questions, I wanted to kick it over to Fabs just to talk about our last drop, which is Chibi Galaxy, and really kind of the thought behind that, the process that went into the artwork, because I think it's really important that people understand that process. Malachi, do you have anything you want to jump in and add before Fabs kicks it
I'll
off?
hold it. I could go on and on and on about why everything you said is important, but I'll hold it until Fabs talks a little bit about the project.
Sure.
Hey, thank you for having us, Mal. Happy to be here back. I think it has been, a really long time since last time we've been being in this show. So thank you for having us. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the progress. Well, it has been a very wild time, I would say. We since the apes, I've put in basically everything we had into the apes, and every single corner of my creativity went into this. Obviously, you can get inspired by many different things, and I've been someone who is really inspired by animes, and this is how we all got to the chibis. But the universe and the future is also something that is really inspiring to me. And in the very beginning, we have been talking about how should the next collection be, and what should it include, and what kind of characters should it be. And we have been a little bit back and forth, and I think at some point we said we need to go even more futuristic, and even wider into basically into the space, and enlarging basically what our influence, and also where our characters are going. And I don't know who it was, but then we said, okay, what's going to be the topic? And we've been talking between us, Buster and H. Bizzle, and someone came up with the idea, yeah, let's do Galaxy, let's do universe. And I think that inspired and sparked some really interesting thoughts in me. And this is how we then came up to, okay, let's do something with Galaxy. And then we have the lore of the apes, and they live in the future, where they basically took over the world from the humans. And there was an apocalyptic happening there. We don't know what happened, so we kind of leaving a little bit for the future, for the people to find out. But we imagined that during the time basically where the chibi apes are living, or in the future where they are living, we imagined that humans still exist in some kind of form, and some kind of body. And so we said, okay, there should be definitely some characters where we think the humans prolonged and lived still, and that are the cyborgs. And the cyborgs is kind of the first species that we created, that is going to definitely be a big part of the next collection. So there are no humans anymore, but cyborgs basically continued to live. And so we were thinking of what are the things, what are species that the cyborgs could come along with. And we've also thinking of things like who could be the enemies. And the chibi world has always been a really happy and really flowerful world. We have kids love us, and we love playing with these thoughts. But we also want a little bit of spiciness in the whole story, and taking this further and into next year, where we want to focus on play to earn. We also want to build some kind of enemies into the Chibi universe, and people will find out. But if you look at the aliens we created, if you look at the robots we created, those are characters you don't want to mess with. We have characters called Killer, or we have characters called Executor.
I changed the name. It's no longer called a Killer.
Oh yeah. And this is the part where the villains are coming into the whole story. And yeah, I mean the whole process of modeling it and designing the art has been really interesting, and we have found some really nice, interesting new ideas that we added to the whole thing. The characters have been very futuristic, but there's so much more to explore, so many new items, so many new tools that the futuristic characters could use. And I think I've shared a few things in the past few days, which is, I think, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Fabs,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, the amount of thought that goes into this, it's not like, oh, we're just gonna create cyborgs and aliens and the lore behind it. I mean, we spent a lot of time fine tuning this stuff, because you only get one shot at developing the characters and the story. Because once you do, this is going to be set in stone, and this is essentially what we're going to be leveraging when we're going out and telling our story, when we're building an animated series, when we're selling these characters and collectibles in real life to children. It's all setting the stage for the future of this project. And I give Fabs a lot of credit, because the art is just off the charts, but even the story and even the ideas and even the little nuances around the characters and the character development is really important for the long-term version of what we're building here.
I couldn't agree.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go on, Fabs.
No, I just wanted to add, we with this collection, we really got crazy with the art. If and that's the thing. You need to think of multiple aspects. You need to think of this could be game assets at some point, and you can't make them too detailed. You can't make them having a really high resolution, and you need to rig them, and all these kind of things need to get into the consideration, so to say. And it's hard, bringing those things together when you think of those are things people might want to use in games at some point. But if we add too many assets, too much detail, while I really love the detail and really love the chaotic view on picture of some of those, people are stopping me here and there, and I need to listen to them from time to time.
One of the things that that you said a lot. You talked briefly about play to earn. You talked about a lot of stuff that's coming. It's really interesting, and I think that goes into the innovation of this. But our first conversations were on Twitter Spaces, and I had no idea who y'all were. And I came on, and we started talking, and you started talking about Blender. I believe it was Blender, and how you're using Python to be able to render a lot of these objects. And then when you talk about poly counts, and you talk about future-proofing your design at the time, right? This is one of the things a lot of pseudo 3D projects have failed at. And I'm a gamer, I'm a nerd. I was a computer science major in college. I got a 3090 to play all my games, all that stuff. But the poly count, mentioning that now means that it was well thought out before, right? So when you think about future-proofing the design of this, and it's not about making a AAA game, it's about Decentraland as it exists today and all the metaverses, it's going to be years before this all catches up, and it has to be AR and VR compliant, which means lower resolutions, all these types of things. And so it sounds to me like everything has been purpose built. And this is the other thing. And when you think about roadmaps and designs, yes, there's creativity that comes up. Like the Bored Ape Yacht Club mentioned mutants way before they knew what the mutants were going to be. And then it took them a long time to figure out what would work with that. So I think y'all have taken a two-prong approach from what I've heard publicly and privately about, okay, here's our publicly available roadmap, and then here's our private roadmap, and then, oh, by the way, metaverse is the future. You knew this before Zuck. Get out ahead and say, hey, we've got this great art, and let's make sure we can get the T-poses right. Let's start like making this so that people can start moving it into the metaverse, and that's incredibly exciting. I want to make. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I wanted to jump in here and talk a little bit about the metaverse, but if you want to keep going, that's no problem.
I was going to go on another diatribe about like increasing collection sizes. I'll save it.
Well, just one quick comment on the metaverse. I just want to say that, where it comes from originally, we all met in spaces, and I've been saying for a little while now, for a few months now, I've been saying, just imagine a time that we're not going to get together in spaces and our little avatars represent us, but we're going to have actual people walking around. And, me, a big loudmouth, I'm like, yeah, Mal, you're going to come hang out at my big mansion in the metaverse, and I'm going to have clowns and fireworks, and that's going to be the flex. That was kind of like where this fascination with the metaverse came up, at least from my side, that it's going to be a new dimension of communication where we're going to have visual aid to the flex, visual aid to the conversation. We all know Twitter Spaces rugs us all the time. It's just a matter of time till you all come to my Somnium Hotel, or the Chibi Somnium Hotel, or whatever it is. I'm just saying, well, there's one and one. What I'm saying, though, it's just a matter of time till you all come, and the visual aspect is another part of the flex, right? And I think that was the original concept, but what I've learned really quickly is that this could go to a lot of different places really quickly. If you go into Decentraland right now, all the people are in a place called the Wonder Mine. Why? Because they throw rocks from the sky, big rocks. You chase them down, you hit them with a hammer, you get a coin. People are fascinated with this game that they go and they get a coin. Maybe they get merch or they get something out of it. So that led me to thinking right away, and I'm not going to flesh out the whole concept, but just a little bit, that we will build the play to earn model in Decentraland for Chibi Nation. And part of this is exploration. We're learning as we go a bit here. But what we learned recently was that, wait a second, there's all this white space here, and we can make a video game out of this. So I could hide a couple gems in the jungle. You got to take the gems to my computer, to a store. You got to put the gems in here. You get computer chips. You go somewhere else to get a coin, that could be purposeful, whatever, not an altcoin, but purposeful within this game. But all through that time, the users, it takes time. It takes 5-10 minutes. There's a lot of white space. All the drops coming up this week, all the, any of our community members that have a drop, there's a really easy way to kind of integrate that. If we're going to have hundreds of people going through our Decentraland every day, and they're sort of going through this maze of white space, well, you're launching NFT Culture 2. You may say, hey, HBizzle, will you throw up our information on that wall? You're going to have 100 people see it today, maybe 1,000. Who knows? And it starts to evolve into this whole new layer of communication, potentially advertising, potentially community. I'll stop there, but that's where we're going with it. And every day we're learning something new. So the question is, I got a question today from a community member that said, okay, so you guys bet on the metaverse and you did well and you got a spot, and that's great for Chibi Apes, but how does that benefit me, the holder? And I'll let Spasta run away with that, and then we could go to the other question.
Sorry, the question was, how does Decentraland benefit?
We made this space in Decentraland. We're evaluating what to do with it next. We're definitely going to move towards a play to earn model that bring users coming back day after day, some multiplier effect to this, video game that we're sort of creating in Decentraland to get people back. And, I guess my question to you is, when the community says, wait a second, you built this awesome thing in Decentraland. You guys, you invested early in Decentraland 8 weeks ago. Obviously, there's a big benefit to the Chibi Nation as a Chibi Nation account. How does this benefit a holder? Can you explain that, Spasta?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to understand, especially the reason why we went after Decentraland, we see Decentraland obviously as the first mover. I've seen some amazing things being built across other environments right now. I don't necessarily believe that that Decentraland is going to be the place in the metaverse. I think each environment's going to kind of play their own role, but I think because Decentraland was so far along, we saw it as an opportunity to have a presence in there, have the appropriate amount of exposure, and people are going to know Chibi Town, right? They're going to come there, whether it's for our play to earn game, for our parties, but they're going to know who the Chibis are because we have that presence. And I think what's really important for our community to understand is by us having that place, by us, planting our flag in the meta, it really shows them that we're reinvesting in the future, we're reinvesting in our community, because what's more important than building your brand, building the exposure, building the awareness. And by the way, throughout that time, we're going to throw some kick-ass parties. We're going to offer exclusive features like our Chibi Cave, which is only open to our Chibi holders. When we had our Decentraland party last week, we did a giveaway within our cave. We had about 150 people there. We picked one lucky person who won a special edition Chibi Galaxy, who's
Sorry to interrupt you.
he had his daughter in the cave who ended up picking out the winner based on how their avatar looked. So we're doing all sorts of really fun things. And look, what you see right now in Decentraland on our scene is just the beginning. We're going to continue enhancing that property over time. There's going to be things that are changing. We're talking to partners about partner integrations within our scene. We're going to create new things for our community to do in there. We're going to create new exclusive areas for our community to come congregate and offer other type of play to earn things, POAPs, things like that, where they could essentially earn while participating in the scene.
And
You know,
the other thing, just to add on that, is we'll be dropping merch, and we'll be establishing a merch line and a brand within the Decentraland marketplace in the Decentraland world. And I talked about this in our town hall this week. If you look at this in 6 months from now, the party has been such a success and the merch has been such a success. People just love the the equipment from the Chibiverse. If you look at this in 6 months, how this is going to look like, we continue dropping merch, we continue establishing, a merch line within Decentraland, and people just love it. People can trade it. So you, as a collector, you get airdrop these variables, and you can sell it. So if you don't like it, or if you get airdrop too, you can sell it on the market. And I've seen our hoodie is at floor 40 mana. If you look at that,
Nice.
is just amazing. And this is just a piece of it. This was a hoodie of one of 5,000, and we minted 3.5. But we think in the future to reward community members and holders in different ways with even more with merch that is even more rare and has a higher scarcity.
By the way, OpenSea just started listing Decentraland wearables now. You could buy and sell on OpenSea. That just happened today.
It's awesome. And I want to touch on that point very briefly. And I could be wrong, but I think as it relates to the metaverse, this is going to be self-evident very quickly. When you think, and yes, there have been announcements from others, and I don't want to take away from any other metaverse, and I don't want to necessarily over promote a metaverse. The only metaverse I would not like is Meta, for obvious reasons. But I think that the future of the metaverse is going to be these seamless interactions. And I think that if these metaversi or verses want to compete with Meta, there's going to have to be some loose affiliation. So when you think about all the movies that we used to watch, or you think about Ready Player One, the book, the movie, you think about Wreck-It Ralph, you think about all these things, and the ability to go, enter, and exit in a standard for metaverses where I could be in Decentraland, I could be in this one. It's great. And I think that if we can create experiences that I can come now into Decentraland, whether one gets ahead temporarily or one falls behind because of announcements and hype and the value and the pumping of influencers and everything else, I think would you rather have a very big plot in one metaverse, or would you rather say, hey, apes, you can go to 100 small metaverses and we just have this little itty bitty space? So I commend y'all very much for placing the it's not a bet, but being able to provide enough room for your future community to conglomerate. And very, very briefly, I also want to touch on this point, which is one of the biggest detractions that a lot of NFTs are getting today. And I think just watching this project from the sidelines for a while and being involved and everything else is that there are new entrants into the NFT space every single day. And when we think about the movers and shakers and the OG pieces, there's still like, if every time a new Pokemon card was released, it decreased the value of all the Pokemon cards. Every Pokemon card in the world would be nothing. But the first Charizards, the first Pikachus, the first pieces, the first X-Men comic, there's so many examples where when we think about supply and demand and economics, yes, there are the holders that want to hold it and they don't care about the community, and all they want is enough demand that their NFT is worth 10,000 ETH and that's it. But when you think about all the investment and everything that's going on, is you're investing in community, you're investing in a brand, you're investing in an idea, and you want to make that idea accessible. You want people to buy a hoodie and you want them to wear it and you want them to be excited about it. And so I think, when you think about healthy expansion, and you're not saying it's Chibi Apes season 2 or 3 or whatever. You're saying, okay, we did our Chibi Apes. Now let's do Chibi Galaxy. Let's explore different ideas. Let's insert villains. Let's do a lot of new concepts.
Can't wait for the villains. I feel like the villains are going to be the sickest.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. I mean, and like that's cool, right? It's like G.I. Joe and everything else. But the point of this is that if you do this correctly, and there's a lot of projects that have done well, there's a lot of projects that have done poorly. But if you do this correctly, and you're a docs team, you're storytelling, you're investing in the community, you're doing all, you're trying to make it accessible. The future of this means that the future generations may not be as valuable as the first, but people are going to want to get back to that OG piece, and that's going to be good for the original holders. We've seen it time and time again, and not just in NFTs. With every collectible that has ever existed, people are going to want to go back to the originals. And every collectible that has ever existed has created more art. If Leonardo da Vinci only created one piece, he wouldn't have been Leonardo da Vinci. If Takashi Murakami behind me only created one piece, like there is supply and demand, and it's healthy for the market to have supply that meets the demand. That being said, the new ones may not be as valuable as the old ones, and that's good. But you still want to onboard people, and you want to give them a chance to get to the old stuff.
Yeah, we were extremely thoughtful in dropping this collection. We wanted to make sure that we had the community to support it. The last thing we wanted to do is drop so much supply onto our collection that it wouldn't be sustainable. So our last drop, we intended on selling 7,000. And the point of that was we were going to kind of complete the collection of 10,000, with 3,000 being our Gen 2, and we have 200 from our Genesis collection. What happened in our drop, and I just have to kind of talk about this because I think, again, it's important to be transparent and accountable. We experienced in our Chibi Apes drop an absolute gas war FOMO fest, where it sold out really quickly. People were really upset. They weren't able to buy in. They had to buy in the secondary market. We made a really conscious decision to launch our last generation, our Chibi Galaxy, in the most orderly manner as possible. And we wanted to reduce gas. We wanted to give everyone a fair shot. And I have to say, we probably launched the most sophisticated drop you've ever seen. We had 4 individual drops. Fabs and team, created these amazing mint pages. The contract was built in such a way that gas was extremely low. So the first day, which was Wednesday of our pre-sale, we allowed existing generation holders to come in and buy at a discount. And again, this was a 24-hour process, so there was no rush. People were minting for $30 fiat, which to them was like an amazing thing. But you know what it actually did by creating kind of this orderly drop and people were coming in slow, we weren't building the hype and the FOMO that everyone wanted to see. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? You want to do right by your community, but you don't get the bots and you don't get the gas wars and stuff. Like, we built our contract so the bots couldn't get into it. Did that hurt us in the end? Well, we decided when we got to our sale date was Thursday, that we had done a registration process. People registered for how much they wanted. It was a commitment, but they weren't required to buy. So we opened up the registration process, and maybe the sale wasn't going as fast as we had hoped. So then we opened up the public sale, and we had sold through probably around 2,500 at that point. And we made the conscious decision as a team. We said, we don't want this sale to drag out. We think if the demand is not there to fulfill the entire 7,000, we're going to cut this off. We're going to put a timer on. We're going to say you have 24 hours to mint. Whoever wants to mint gets in, and we're going to close off the rest of it. And what that's doing is it's limiting the supply. It's basically providing more value to the people who actually bought in on the pre-sale. And we thought we were giving back to the community by doing that. And I think it was one of the best decisions we made. We capped out this last collection at 3,500. The floor price is now 0.1, so it's above our mint price, which was 0.08, and our community is extremely happy about it. And again, I think this team collectively, we have a really thoughtful team. We've made a lot of good decisions, and our community continues to just praise us for doing that. And I think it's because we listen, right? A lot of people would say, no, let's keep it open, let's continue to print money because we need it for the business or whatever. And we said, no, we don't need that. We just want to do right by our community, and we think this is a win-win for both the business and the community.
I love it. I do want to make one quick comment, and this is not about this project or any others, but it's interesting that when these projects started 6, 8, 9 months ago, the roadmap was like, it's not going to sell out in a day. And then for whatever reason, we have the roadmap was like, when we sell out, like once we reach 20%, 50%, 70%, 100%, we'll do these things. And now the roadmap in often cases is like the white paper for ICOs in 2017, and it sucks because, and I'm glad that y'all did what you did because you already had a community and you listened to the community. But I do want to make a comment very briefly for future projects, is that we are still so early. Like, there's two issues, and I get everything about it. It's like the community wants to see value, and if the floor on OpenSea is lower than the mint price, it tanks economies and everything else, and that breaks everything. And this is part of the problem that we're seeing literally today with the influencers going on, is there's so much market manipulation from the influencers and everything else. Eventually, we will reach a level of maturity that there will be projects that don't sell out in a day, and they're still going to be super successful. And so I commend y'all for listening to the community, but I also don't want to discourage projects that may watch this 6 months from now or a year from now from saying like, okay, if it doesn't sell out in 24, 48, 72 hours, let's just kill the supply. Because if the trajectory of new entrants into the NFTs, let's say we cut it in half and it goes on for the next year, there's going to be a lot more people. And there are going to be a lot of people that don't know what the Chibi Apes are today, or Chibi Labs, or Chibi Galaxy, and they're going to see Decentraland, and they're going to want to be a part of that. So your holders will all be rewarded. But there is going to be that lack of supply. Samurai, do you have a comment? Sorry.
I was just going to say, my reply to that would be, as much as we listened to the community, we were also listening to the market. I think we had done a really stellar job of marketing this weeks leading up to it. We got amazing coverage. Coin Market Cap covered us, unsolicited organically, and it was amazing. And we knew that not just the hype, but like the word was out about us, right? It was on all of the calendars. People saw it. We listened to the market. When there's a hot deal and there's a hot, listing, people go after it. And if people weren't doing it, we didn't want to drag this on and basically create a perception that, like, if we didn't sell it within those 24 hours, we gave everyone a chance to buy it. If people then wanted to get into it after that fact, there's an opportunity to go buy it on the secondary, because there are always people who are interested in selling it. So as much as we listen to our community, we also listen to the market. And again, I still think it was the right decision. But I agree with you. I wouldn't discourage folks from saying, if you don't sell out in 24 hours, scrap the project or move on.
A mint. Hang on, guys. A mint that has a lot of attention initially and then doesn't complete, but leaves the mint open, leaves it open to an attack of a similar kind to a 51% attack, right? You leave it open to somebody coming in and buying a lot of them incredibly low and then dumping the whole thing on the entire collection, right? And so
Why? Why do they do that? I never understand why people.
it's not about why they do it. It's they had the option to do it. It doesn't matter why they do it. Just because it doesn't align with your specific way of doing things doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's just an exploit of the market. It's just manipulation that is typically not allowed in things like securities that are regulated by the U.S. government. None of this is a security, and none of this gets regulated like that. So we get to play with the dangers as much as we get to play with the benefits. And all I'm saying is that that's a very real danger. I have been in the groups of people that were like, hey, this project has 1,000 mints. We got 100 people. All we need to do is mint 10. It's at 0.01. We can own a quarter of the freaking supply. Sorry, I have a dog toy. And then we can we can dump the market. We can jack it up, say that none of these traits are worth anything, say that they're all worth it. Everybody delists, and then we relist on the market when it's low. So what? Right? That's just market manipulation. And if you close off the mint when all of your normal people and all the people you want to be in the project have purchased and are in, what you did is you completely annihilated that opportunity for anybody to come in and do that. Right?
That's a really good point. It's a really good point.
The holders.
And I also think it's the time that we're in right now with the market, right? Like right now, that is and once again, I preface this with like, if you're watching this a year from now, the market may be different, and hopefully we go back to a more altruistic space. But right now, I absolutely agree with you that like making sure you're avoiding these vectors is 100% the right thing to do. I didn't mean to take us down this rabbit hole.
No, but just one quick comment, Samurai. I'm going to say you're 100% right. And without naming names, you met one of these people, but like their phone calls coming in, like our networks run deep, and there are people calling us like, during our, we had a lot of this planned out too with the timer, but we were getting those phone calls, exactly what Samurai's talking about, people screaming and yelling, and we're like, we know, chill. We're sorting it out, but these are the things that you got to look out for. And I think if we were just like greedy, like cash grabbers, we would have left the mint open. I'd be showing it for days. We'd still be trying to get the last few sold. And you know what? All of our other collections would be destroyed because, first of all, we'd piss off the holders. And second of all, things would have moved down elsewhere. Just how the market works.
No, y'all are absolutely correct.
On the note of the participation in the metaverse, right? I think that the thing that Bizzle and Fabs and Spasta did right was committing to the idea of the metaverse, which if I could give everybody a reprieve from this, it is literally just the point in time at which we begin interfacing with the digital world as much as we interface with the real world, right? Let's just call it that. Because anybody can call anything the metaverse. The metaverse is really just where we live and how much we're living that's in the digital space. That's it. It's just a concept of time, right? It's like an epoch. Like we're in the industrial age, we're in the metaverse.
I'm gonna one up you. I gotta one up you. We're already in the metaverse, buddy. When we go on space
we've been in it. So this man right here created a substantial investment in the metaverse on behalf of the Chibis, knowing full well that it wasn't a gamble, but it was a little bit of a bet. And what happened was that bet fucking paid off. And not only did it pay off, but it paid off in a way that it was a slap in the face to the one person we needed to slap in the face, and that is Meta. Right? This idea that a big company with billions of dollars can just buy up a bunch of other small companies and small names and then claim that they invented the metaverse. Screw that. We did. We're here. We're inventing the spaces. We're creating the reason why people want to be here in the first place. It's not going to be just video games. It's not going to be just advertisement. It's not going to be just showing up for a POAP. It's going to be the fucking people in the space that make it interesting. The opportunities in the space that are presented from the connections you can make in that space. Bizzle, take it away.
Someone wrote, have you thought about shared universes opening up the lore to holders via voting? I would say this, you know what? Opening up the lore, you got to talk to Fabs about that. But what I would say is the concept I have really deep down, I got into technical recruiting 20 years ago. And what I recognize is there was always a gap in the United States of people that go to school to study mathematics and computer science, STEM, engineering. And, I have 4 young kids and I see them watch, lots of things. And I say to myself, I wish someone was teaching them data structures, algorithms in the form of Carmen Sandiego in a cartoon series. Could that happen here? Maybe. Who would be the characters? I don't know. In my concept, it would be, I do know actually. In my concept, it would be the holders that are participating the most in the play to earn game. You know, reward holders that way, or allow the people that are playing the most in the play to earn game. Maybe they get to vote on some choose your own adventure kind of. They get to choose parts of the lore based on who's most active in the community, whether it's the play to earn game, whether it's the Discord, whether it's the marketing, whether it's whatever, you know. And then Spasta, I throw all these ideas out there, and Spasta makes sense of it, you know.
I try.
We spend a lot of time coordinating with people who can articulate what's possible to us with HBizzle, because he's one of the most inventive people I've ever met, and he comes up with ideas like that. And so we're constantly having to find people in the Twitterverse and the Twitter spaces that are able to do the things that HBizzle comes up with, whether it's AI, whether it's this, whether it's that. It's just like, yo, can we find somebody that knows how to do this, because this is a good idea.
I think that's an important concept. So like, we're not just builders, we're community members. Like, we spend time on spaces still almost every single night, and we're in there not just preaching, but we're learning. We have people coming into spaces all the time who are giving us not just like alpha to buy, but alpha to where we should be looking, what we should be looking at. I mean, I'd have to say everything that we've learned from metaverse and the different universes has come from like all these different participants that have been in our spaces. I love every time we're in like our town hall and we're talking about like Decentraland, and like, you know, someone like Friendly Joe walks in, we're like, Friendly Joe was like, you know, responsible for like putting us on, you know, to the people who sold us the land in Decentraland. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you know, within our community, within the NFT community, but also within the Chibi community, I can't even tell you the amount of talent that we've found from within our community, the amount of contribution they've given towards us and our project. It's just amazing, because, you know, this is a really big undertaking, and we're just a small team and we're a growing team, but, you know, we get a lot of support from our community, who are now almost full-time members of our team. I mean, we have taken on and hired a lot of the people from within our community, because they're extremely talented people, and they're passionate about what we're doing, which makes it even better. It's like, you know, how many times are you managing a team or have employees who are not passionate about what they're doing? It's like, just amazing for everyone to be aligned like that. So,
well, and this is really briefly, like, this is a bad take, but it's an honest take, is that, like, for a lot of people that are launching these types of projects, like, they could be running a project like this takes time away from the alpha and flipping alpha. And when you think about projects like the apes, like, sometimes you're like, oh man, like, I'm missing crazy projects that can create generational wealth because of the community. And so, like, there's that, and I don't want to say people don't feel appreciated, because it's the wrong way to say it. But y'all are so committed to this community that you could just have said, hey, look, let's just go, let's keep doing the alpha, let's keep finding the project, let's keep flipping. And if you had 100 apes, 20 apes, 30 kennel dogs, now you're flipping more than a lot of projects are worth in a lot of cases. And so, like, the dedication to the community is very obvious. And you know, I think that sometimes it's once you have customers, once again, people don't leave Yelp reviews if they're happy. People leave Yelp reviews when they're unhappy. And so for every person, and I'm not saying anyone's unhappy with this project or any project, but I'm more speaking probably to our token and all the tokens out there that are dealing with high gas, high ETH, everything else, that, like, there's so much positivity, and y'all have done so much already with the roadmap, the wings, Decentraland, the T poses, and the commitment to the community, and onboarding the community manager of Nifty Culture for no reason whatsoever than just helping the space. I
We're
commend the
working
hell
on
out of
stuff
y'all.
like this too. Spasta,
what is it?
tell them about the
Oh,
toys.
yeah, no, we're building physical collectibles, which is not an easy task, given when you have a generative collection of 3,000 unique
And you have 3,500
collectibles.
more unique collectibles to it. It makes it, you know, 7,500 molds. Yeah.
And not to mention the level of detail that goes into all of these characters. But yeah, it's
Sounds like
again, we're
Before-
for our community, it's what?
He's got to show he's got to show off Fabs' new PFP before we go.
Oh yeah, you didn't flash any of the highlights from our Chibi Galaxy. So again, we're revealing Chibi Galaxy tomorrow. That's going to be happening, and we're basically doing a Decentraland party after our reveal, which is obviously a big deal to our community. But if you go on our Twitter, Malachi, you can find some of the new artwork that's been posted, which is just like off the charts. Fab's created these Ethereum goggle
Look at
eyes.
that.
I had pulled it up, but I didn't pull it up. I apologize. I had it ready to go, and then I went on one of my diatribes, so I apologize.
How crazy is that? That's a Tron suit, silver alien, Tron suit, Ethereum eyes. I mean, that stuff. This is nuts. I mean, Fabs, I have to say he outdid himself, like he always does. But like he's been in the lab doing some crazy things. He's a bad man.
And it's consistent, and like the level of detail is better than a Switch game. Like I love it, and I mean the fact that
forget about selling NFTs. Whichever video game company we decide to choose, or that attacks us, or whatever we get to it, those are going to be the real winners. I mean, look at the cheeks on this character. I mean, he could have just let it be a face, but he put the detail on the. It's ridiculous.
Love this.
I've always been your
Thank you,
biggest
Fabs.
fan.
Kudos to you.
Thank you.
It looks so good.
Still believe in you. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mal, for having us.
No, thank you for coming. Let's do it again. We've had a little bit of some scheduling challenges, and kind of as everyone knows that watches the NFT Culture Show, we're adding 3 new hosts. We hired 4 devs. We're trying to scale and grow. Similar challenges to what everyone in the NFT space is having, but y'all have always been loyal and kind and everything. And I love this project, and I love what y'all do for the space, and just the fact that you're intentionally onboarding new people. You'll take the time that it takes to make sure that anyone that has a question feels comfortable. And the best example I can give is our community manager, who random person that came in because of impact theory, who met with you. You gifted them a token that was worth $500 out of the kindness of your heart, and now they're working one of the fastest growing NFT brands, and like that's life. And it's like be kind, be humble, help your neighbor, and do everything you can. So thank you all for everything you're doing.
And just to that point, I think this whole space, a lot of success that I've had, or Spasta has seen, or that Chibi's has seen, it's a lot about relationships and doing things like that. I don't even think twice. I mean, when it wasn't like, oh, it's worth, I'm going to lose money. It's not about that. I knew if I gave it out, I've given a few out to a few people. I think you owe me one for Lauren. That would be fair.
Do. Send me your ETH address after this. I'll give you one of the rare ones.
I saw your sweatshirt. It's a beautiful sweatshirt. Did you get the white mutant one?
I didn't, because my teeth are too yellow to wear white.
Okay.
And take there.
I got 100 from every size, so I was going to send you one, but I'll have to find something else.
My wife will wear it.
I only got 5 of the smaller sizes, but okay, we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's do this again sooner than later. We're going to be on space. We always find a way to each other's spaces, and there's so many reasons that I'm rooting for this project. First and foremost, it's the team behind it, and the fact that y'all are doing everything that you've done and will continue to do. So thank you for coming on, and I look forward to having y'all again soon.
Thank
you.
Thanks again.